Good evening, Transpac race fans. This is Dobbs Davis giving you the July 12th analysis of the 2017 Transpac, 49th edition of this great race. We'll go straight to our tracker and see what the progress has been since yesterday. We had the boats finish in yesterday's wave of finishers and the night before, breaking records for the multi-hull and the monohull record for Comanche. So what we're looking at now is who's going to be coming in the next wave and when they're going to get here and any stories they might have. Now, speaking of stories, there are lots of stories on the Transpac website. Those are getting posted in blogs from the boats themselves. There's photos, there's videos, there's a tremendous amount of material, so I really urge everybody to check it out. Leading the pack now, Rio 100. Manouche Mascietti's boat has really, as you can see, they've jibed, and in jibing and going onto port jibe, that means that the rudder that they don't have on the port side is not stopping them at all because they have a good starboard rudder. Therefore, they're able to heel the boat over, let the hull rest on that side, and power it up completely and go to normal speeds for them. So they're trucking along at about 15 knots. They're with the 4-hour tracker delay here. This is 10 o'clock this morning, Honolulu time. I know the live tracker shows that they're closer. They're about 170 miles out at this stage, but for what you all can see, 228. But they're going fast and they're going at the same speed. In fact, the live tracker shows that they've actually been headed slightly, so they're making even greater progress toward the islands. We project them to be finishing sometime tonight, probably after midnight. Just depends a little bit of how much the breeze hangs in there. They do slow down when they jibe to starboard, and they're going to have to do that at some stage. But good news for them is they're not being threatened by anybody like they were a couple of days ago. Invisible Hand here is the next in line ahead of the wave behind them. They're slowing down a little bit, 10 to 12 knots of boat speed. Now again, these are snapshots every hour taken by the tracker, so we don't really know what's happening in between those snapshots, but just doing the math, they're still going on average about 12, 13 knots themselves, but the key is that this is a couple of knots slower than Rio 100. So Rio is stretching out away from an invisible hand. We don't see them being threatened at all for their claim on the barn door trophy. That trophy, of course, is awarded to the fastest monohull across the finish line that doesn't use any power-assisted systems on board. So anyway, we'll look to see how these guys, they may tactically do a split here where maybe Invisible Hand wants to try to get a little leverage off to the right and then jibe in maybe with that with a header. They have a little bit stronger position, but we'll see. I think their goal probably is just to stay ahead of their chief rival here, Bad Pack. That's another Pack 52, Tom Holtus's boat, and they're going roughly the same speeds. But as you can see, they're 379 out and 320, so they're 59 miles astern of Invisible Hand. That's quite a gap to overcome, yeah, we'll see if they can do it. The other story I thought was interesting from today involved the corrected time leaders. We saw, we'll go to this tab on the leaderboard, and if we go to Division 7, we can see there's a different boat on the top. Azure, the Cal 40, was ahead for in corrected time in this class almost from the outset. They stuck close to the rum line, minimized their distance away. Most other people sagged further to the south and were sailing a greater number of miles to Hawaii. So what accounts for them losing that lead to the Norwegian team on Kubanaren? This is a boat that's a Wasa 44. It's kind of an interesting Scandinavian narrow, long end, long overhang boat. It's more of a traditional design. But why did they flip-flop? And And the answer is we can see in the tracker, and it actually came through in one of the blogs. It's quite interesting. So let's find Azure and then just look at their track, and we can, using this tool, scroll back and see what happened. Here we are. So they had a little interesting situation. And I'll try to blow this up. Not refreshing terribly well here with my internet connection. Apologies for that. But look at this boat here. This is Medusa. This is a boat that's in another class. And they've been overtaking the slower boats in Division 7. But they were close enough yesterday so that they broadcast that they felt like they were in trouble. They didn't have enough fuel. Or actually what happened is they had enough fuel, but they had water in their fuel. Their engine was therefore not working, and they were losing electrical power without use of the engine to recharge the batteries. So Azure was apparently within radio range. I don't know if Medusa was broadcasting this on VHF or what they were doing, but you can see here by the tracks, this being Medusa, and this was yesterday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, the way the story goes is that the broadcast went out about 11:30 in the morning. So Medusa put out the word. Azure replied and said, yes, we can rendezvous. So there was a course deviation, and the Medusa and Azure converged. They were able to transfer 5 gallons of fuel from Azure over to Medusa, and then they diverged and went off on their ways. So it was a good story of the 2 vessels assisting each other in conditions that, by the way, are not terribly easy to do that. It was 18 knots of wind and big swells, so they had to get close enough, but not too close. They had to get a line across from one boat to the other, transfer what they could, lash to boat fenders is what I heard, and got creative with solving this problem. So hats off to the team on Azure, but that's why they've fallen behind and they're not in that corrected time lead. No doubt the jury in the race will give them credit for that time that they were assisting, so we may see them come back up on the leaderboard after the finish of the race, and a hearing is held and that decision is made. So with that good story of seamanship and camaraderie at sea, I'm going to close off today's analysis video and bring it back to you for tomorrow, where we'll have Rio hopefully tied up safely at the dock, barn door trophy winner, and the other boats coming in close for the next wave. So for the 12th of July Transpac analysis video, I'm Dobbs Davis signing off for now.